Hi everyone, how are you doing? This is Dr. T in the house, and we are up for some exciting adventure today on our episode of Meet the Expert. Today I am at Embark Learning Garden, and I'm joined by a very special and mysterious little helper. There she is. That's Tierra, my daughter, and she's going to be helping me out in the garden today while we meet with our expert, master gardener, Pablo Vimos. So super excited, tune in. Hey everyone, we are here at Embark Learning Garden with some very, very special people and awesome experts in food. We have next to me, social distancing, very far away, Pablo Vimos is the master gardener for Embark Sustain, and we also have yes, hello Pablo, yay! We also have a new addition to the Embark team, and we have Melissa.
Yeah.
So Melissa, you are a new program manager?
Yes, I'm the new programs manager at Embark.
Oh, that's great, and welcome to SFU.
Thank you.
This is great, and this is a beautiful day right now. Camera person, back to me. So today is a beautiful day to do some gardening, to learn about the food recipe program.
I can't see you.
It's okay. And to also learn about some awesome things that are happening at Embark Learning Garden with Pablo and Melissa. Hi everyone, again, so I am with Pablo Vimos, the master gardener at Embark Learning Garden, and I'm really interested to learn more about, well, how did he get here, you know, the trajectory of his professional journey. So I want you to hear a little bit more about him because I'm truly inspired, and so I hope you'll be inspired as well. So Pablo, thank you so much for joining us in this Meet the Expert session.
You're welcome.
So I want to learn more about your story, you know, what got you interested in food, and I mean, it's obviously beautiful, so tell me more.
All right, so I can start saying that I did my high school in a technical school in my own country, Ecuador.
Wow.
So I started doing agriculture since I was a teenager, and then I moved to university where I got my degree in agricultural science. Then I did some postgraduate studies on soil science in order to deep about where to grow food. And during that process of learning to study the land and classify the land for food production, I had these problems in Ecuador about land that is no good for food production. Actually, it's no good for agriculture. So what do you do with that land? And then I handled my path moved into landscape ecology. So can we restore the landscape? Have we restart, bring back all ecosystems? And so and once I moved to Canada, kind of life brings me back and go back to my roots, doing agriculture. But this time, rather than in large production, commercial settings, doing in an urban setting. So yeah, I've been doing agriculture since very early in my, since teenager.
Wow, so that's an amazing story. Now you're telling us, you're telling me that you started basically learning about food from, you know, very young age, from teenager. How important is it for us to learn about food? Because, you know, as you know, most of us just get food from the supermarket. So why urban agriculture? Why community gardening? Is it really important for us, or, you know, can we just rely on the supermarket to get our food? What do you think?
Okay, so yeah, urban agriculture, the definition is producing or growing food in an agricultural in an urban setting. So in this case, we have this learning garden, and we also have, you might have heard about urban farms, community gardens. There are kind of the three different types of urban agriculture. So this learning garden in SFU, UBC, and now we have learning gardens in elementary schools and secondary schools. So the thing is that to bring the connection between people, the community, and the food. Because as you mentioned, so far we have kind of lost this connection. So since I've been doing agriculture since teenager times, I kind of built that connection. But again, when I moved to do my postgraduate studies, was like I lost that connection. And now kind of I feel really, once you get a connection with the food, it's not with the food, also it's with the land, with the environment, and you start developing the sense of stewardship, sense of the conservation. So it's not only one thing, the one thing branches out, and you kind of complement from all sides.
I love that so much. Basically, what Pablo's talking about is this idea of interconnectivity and building relationship, not just building a relationship with ourselves, but also building relationship with the plants and all of the surrounding ecosystem. Now, my question to you, Pablo, is, we've all experienced the COVID crisis around the world. There's a growing interest in growing food. See, that's interesting. But, for many of us who do not have a lot of access to land, maybe we don't have a degree in agriculture, what's your tips and strategies? Because here in the Embark Learning Garden, I see like some really interesting techniques here, and with this one particularly, I'm seeing lots of squares. What's happening here with all these squares, Pablo?
Yeah, so during the COVID, the food security was a big issue, and thanks that all the supermarkets were open during this time, and we could have access to our food. But for those who do agriculture, like in my case, coming to a garden was not just a way to be a time to be yourself, but also time to be in contact with nature and continue producing food. So urban agriculture or urban gardening, there are different approaches. For instance, in this case we use raised beds, right? Raised beds, that's one of these. Also we can use, you may have heard about lasagna gardening, or you might have heard about bale gardening. You might have heard about the biodynamic gardening, permaculture. All of those are different types of gardening, of producing food. And one of those as well is what we call the square food gardening. And here is what we use in our learning garden, is raised beds, one method, plus the additional method is using the square food gardening. The square food gardening is an intensive way of growing food. And the basic is that you split a garden bed in squares, in 1 foot square. So here we have a 1 foot square.
Wow.
Okay? 12 inches by 12 inches.
What's the name of this thing, Pablo?
That is called the seeding square.
Seeding square, guys.
The seeding square, okay?
Very cool.
So just to give you a sense, in here, in this area, we can grow 1 broccoli, 1 cabbage, 1 Brussels sprout. So, and then we can grow 16, the red circles, 16 carrots, 16 radishes, and in the yellow circles there are 9 circles, 9 beets, 9 spinaches, and in the blue circles we can grow 4 lettuces, 4 pak choys, 4 kohlrabis. Wow. So this method is kind of allowing us to optimize the space based on the size of our plant when it matures. All right, so I will show you later a cabbage, how big it can get.
Wow, yes. And also what's really interesting is, okay, so this is a really great way to have a lot of diversity, and as you mentioned, to intensify space and really have a lot more going on. Now, the question is, why isn't this happening in a lot of farms? Usually you see in the movies or in, on social media, just rows and rows of just like one type of crop. Like, what's the difference with that? Like, and why not this model more? Is this more difficult sometimes? What do you think, Pablo?
Well, yes. This is, as I mentioned, this is a square foot gardening, very intensive, very dynamic, and not only dynamic but diverse. So you can see in this garden bed we have different crops, and different crops mature at different stages, at different age. So you will have to constantly keep planting and harvesting in an intensive way, which really is a method that doesn't apply to farms. In farms, it's better to have one crop in rows, and also because you're using heavy machinery, and so that's kind of the limitation of this square foot gardening for using in farms. But it fits very nice for small spaces like a garden bed, or even in pots. If you have a pot big enough, you still can grow following the square foot gardening. So the square foot gardening, as I said, is based on the size of the plant, and depending on the size of plant, you have a number of plants that you can put in a square, and then it just also makes you think about how much I'm going to grow from this crop. Let's say you want 16 carrots in a square. How many carrots do you eat in a week? Are you going to plant 4 squares with 16 carrots? You won't do that. because you will have to harvest all these carrots at the same time. Yes. So this method as well makes you think how much I eat and how much I'm going to plant.
This is very interesting. So another thing that as I keep on learning about how to grow food and just actually going out and gardening, there's just a lot of knowledge and math involved and a lot of planning. And I think what happens is, when you don't have that experience, it's easy to take food for granted. And so, by the way, we have a massive food waste problem in Canada, $49 billion annually. I think if I have to work this hard to grow the carrots and to plant it, I think I'd probably think twice about wasting food. So Pablo, you told me that there's this big cabbage that you wanted to show.
Sure.
Yeah.
I can show you. Yeah.
We're gonna do a tour, guys, of the garden.
And you can see how much space it takes. All right,
Yes.
so if you plant only one cabbage, in this case, in this garden bed, we have one cabbage, one broccoli,
Oh, look at the baby. It's a baby.
one red cabbage, all right? And at the back, we have one cauliflower. Okay, that's the cauliflower.
Oh, it's still
It's
baby. Still
baby,
sleeping.
yeah. So, as you can see, these are big plants. So that's why we say when you use the square foot gardening, only one plant. Yeah.
Yep, I get that now. It makes sense. If a student is interested in having a garden, how does it work, Pablo?
All right, so how it works. If you're interested in doing some agriculture, growing your own produce, yeah, you can register at Embark. We have a form to register, and we will rent you a garden bed, which is 12 square foot, for $15 for a year. And we provide you with tools, we provide with compost, manure, and the only thing you have to bring is your own plant material and your goodwill to learn and start growing.
Yes, and also bring your muscles. Yes, because this is basically like working out at the gym. Only maybe better because you then get to eat the food that you grow.
That's right. Yeah,
That's right.
Healthy food.
And that's amazing. So Pablo, tell me other features of the garden. You also have I see apple trees and also like the compost. Well, maybe let's talk first about the apple tree here.
So we plant. These are young apple trees. These are only our second year here in the garden. And I was surprised for this year already they are in fruit. So they are heavily with lots of fruit, very heavy. And yeah, so these are communal trees. It means that any member of SFU community can come, grab an apple and enjoy it. So it's just kind of bringing people into this space. Remember, this is a learning garden, but also it's an open space for gathering. So you are more than welcome to come visit, take a look, and experience this wildlife in campus. So we have these apple trees. Also, we have at the bottom, we have planted lavender, which is nice. Lavender attracts bees. Bees pollinate apple trees, and kind of there is this. Also, we are creating this ecosystem, encouraging more habitats in the garden. So we have encourage insects.
So my plot here is actually not looking too shabby. It's not bad. As you can see, I have some kale and swisher. And look, Pablo, I'm so excited about this. Look at my baby zucchinis.
Yes. Do you know that zucchinis have two types of flowers? They have the female and the male flower.
No, I did not know that.
Yeah. So
how do you tell the difference?
Oh, that's very interesting. So here is a flower, and this is the female flower because you will see the female organs in there.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And the female flower, and this is a male flower. Okay, this is a male flower in here. If we open gently without destroying, you can see the male organs in there.
Oh wow.
All right. Now different, yeah. And when you are, for instance, in here, okay, you can focus in here. All right, so in here you can see already the baby zucchini. Can you point the baby zucchini?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the baby zucchini, and that is the female flower, and the male flower will be this one. There is no baby zucchini on the stem.
Wow. I think
So
my
you have two,
zucchinis.
baby, the male and female flower.
Yeah, I think that's amazing, and I think I'm gonna have a few zucchinis there. I
Yes,
can tell, which is
absolutely.
very exciting. Very exciting. Pablo, do you have any tips on pests? Because that's the one thing, you know, we try to grow organically, but I'm having an issue with this ant infestation on my artichoke plant. What are your thoughts on these really frustrating ants?
Yeah, growing organic is really a challenge. All right, so that's particularly in this case we have aphids. Aphids and ants create a symbiosis.
They're happy together.
They're happy together. Aphids create a honeydew, which is very sweet, and which the ants are interested on. So that's why the ants, you will see ants coming up and down collecting the honeydew, and the ants also offer protection to the aphids. So here we have aphids in here. They are little things all around the stem. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And the ants are just collecting the honeydew. All right, so that's why you will see more ants than the aphids.
Any
Okay.
tips for this madness?
Well, what we use is soap water, soapy water, or also soapy water, and you just can spray that. The thing is that the soapy water will dry out the skin of the aphids, and they will die of dehydration. The skin will crack.
Yes, because you see, there's a little baby artichoke here that's being attacked.
Yeah.
Yeah. You see.
So
And the
yes.
ants are laying eggs in the cups.
Ants are defending. The ants are defending the aphids, so that's why they're attacking us.
Yes, they're not happy.
So yes,
they're waging war.
Insecticidal soap that we can get from garden centers will be very useful in here in this case.
And still okay with organic growing.
It's still with organic growing, yes. It's
Perfect.
just or you can make as well your own soap using washing up liquid in a small doses, because it gets that's very strong. Your plants, I usually advise the garden volunteers to come at least once a week to check how you plant, and that is very interesting, because the moment you come to check your plants, you start touching them, and when you touch, you create a relationship with them.
Yes.
You know,
A relationship of love. That's great.
And yeah, your plot is doing well, Tamara. You also have some time in here.
Well, compared to last year, I mean, this is definitely a much better improvement.
Yeah.
So I'm proud of
we have
myself.
lots of Swiss chard, and this way that you have planted is using the single row, different approach than the square foot gardening. So it means that you have decided to harvest these leaves very young leaves of Swiss chard. So they won't develop in these huge leaves, but this will be just for a salad. Nice.
Yes,
fresh
and
leaves.
by the way, I just made this whole row up.
Kale in here as well. Because of how dense it is planted, you shouldn't expect big plants, but you will have to constantly picking the leaves and harvesting, so it keeps always going.
And how important is spacing, Pablo?
Spacing is very important.
Yes,
Spacing
which I
is-
did not know before.
Well, spacing is as important as nutrients, water, air. Yeah, space is the fifth one.
That's
So-
perfect. So, as someone who is a planner, I need to learn more about planning the space of my beautiful garden, which
Yeah.
is awesome. Thank you. Pablo, so tell me a little bit more about this exciting display of food and produce. This looks amazing.
Yeah, so what happened is that every workshop that we have with the volunteers, with the garden volunteers, we harvest, and of course they take a bit, and whatever is left we share with the SFU community. So that is part of our Food is Free project, where we share part of our harvest with the community. So in here, for instance, today we have harvested, I don't know if you're familiar with kohlrabi.
Oh
We
my
have
goodness.
And this is only half of it, because the other half we split it.
Cool, Rob.
We have some radishes, all size,
Wow.
as well. We garlic. This garlic was planted last October. It's a fresh garlic, because that's why it has this purple skin,
Wow.
and the leaves are still green. And you see at the end of the leaves we have this little, what I call a piggy tail.
Piggy tail.
Yeah,
Ooh, yes.
that
yes.
is called scipes, and that is as well very much seeked by chefs, because it's very garlicky and soft to nice to eat.
Yes.
So this is a fresh garlic. If I would like a garlic to keep over for more than 2 months, I will wait that the leaves die down or become brown, and then this will be ready to keep it. So now it's fresh garlic and ready to use for cooking.
That's amazing. And you know what's interesting? With the garlic scape part, you know, it seems like when we go to the grocery store, we'll never see that. You know,
Right.
what usually happens to, do people kind of throw it away? They don't know how to use it?
Well, usually we are interested on the garlic bulbs.
Yes.
And as you can see here, we have some volunteers that were just interested on that, and the rest was just left. So that usually will go to waste, go back to the composter. But if we do gardening in our plot by ourselves for our food, we will use almost everything. So we will use this for making pesto. So we can blend that and make a garlicky pesto, very soft. And the others you will put in your soups, in your stews. Yeah, you will use the most of it.
Amazing. So guys, basically zero waste. Do not waste food. This is actually very, very edible.
Yes,
which is
everything
exciting.
is edible. If we can eat the bulb, of course we can eat the flower, because this is the flower of the garlic.
Oh my gosh, the aroma right now that I'm smelling is absolutely fantastic. It's
Yeah.
great. And the kohlrabi, I don't even know what to do with that. I'm gonna have to Google what to do. What do you do with that, Pablo?
Well, kohlrabi here, as you can see, is very. This is called the globe, and it's a stem, a modified stem, and this is very crunchy. It's like an apple.
It
Very-
looks like a Granny Smith apple almost. Yeah.
And yeah, you can make into cubes, add to your salad, or make into cubes, add to your soups. So yeah, you can eat cooked or raw, and it's just
Amazing.
rich in water. And yeah, so this is part of the family of the cabbage, broccoli, cauliflower, kale. So they are
One big family.
the big family.
Can you
Yeah.
actually eat that leaf on the top?
Yes, you can eat.
Oh my goodness.
If we eat this, the stem, we also can eat the leaves.
Again,
So
yeah.
again, you can put that in stir and fry, or you can steam it, and you have it rice, and you can make a spring roll with lots of things in there. You know?
Yes. Fold it in and then
Yeah.
put some like
Yeah.
delicious stuff inside.
Delicious stuff. Yeah.
Amazing. So basically, so guys, this is a part of Embark's food rescue program. So basically, every Thursday, Pablo?
Every Thursday, yeah, we meet with the garden volunteers, and we do gardening over the summer.
Amazing. So every Thursday with the gardening volunteers, there's a lot of surplus, beautiful, organic, fresh produce here. And so if you become a volunteer with Embark, there's a lot of great food that basically goes around and we share together. So yeah, this is awesome.
So again, we also have one of our short crops. So this garlic is the longest crop, 9 months. October to June, 9 months. This is our shortest crop. Radishes, 45 to 50 days.
Oh wow.
So
do you
if-
plant from seeds?
From
Pablo?
seeds.
Wow.
Yeah, from seeds. These are planted from clubs, from a part of the bulbs, so it's kind of a shortcut. But if you wait to plant from seeds, it will take even longer than 9 months.
Wow.
So that's why garlic takes so long. This is the shorter cycle, 45, 50 days. And yeah, how many radishes can you eat in a sitting?
Probably. I can do one. Do one. How
So,
about you,
yeah.
Tiara? Can you eat radish? A little bit.
I don't really like bread.
Oh, we're just gonna cut that out. And this one looks like radish, but it's not radish, right, Pablo?
That's right. It looks, and it's not Swiss chard either.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Swiss chard on the top, looks like radish in the bottom. What is this?
This is beetroot.
Amazing.
Beetroot, and yeah, again, most of the nutrients of the beets are in the root system.
Wow.
And we have these beautiful purple stems and green leaves, dark and shiny green leaves. Again, if we eat the roots, we also can eat the leaves. The leaves can be added, young leaves can be like this one, very nice looking, can be added to your salad.
Wow. So it's interesting because when we do see a lot of things in the supermarket, a lot of things are either, you know, like with celery or anything like that, things are cut, and so a lot of the parts actually get wasted. But when you grow your own food, you know,
you can use most of the plant.
You can use most of the plant, which is amazing.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah. Over here we have a plum tree, and we have this beautiful thyme. This is thyme, creeping thyme covered in the wall garden bed. So, so yeah, rather than using mulch, let's use living mulch.
And it's also usable, like with the mulch, we can't eat it.
Well, we can eat it.
We can
yes,
eat this
we
one,
can just trim it, dry it out, and then we have our herbs. Yes.
How long will it take for this plum tree to grow?
This year, this plum tree did not flower.
Oh wow.
Unfortunately, we also have some plum trees around, and it didn't flower. So I'm wondering what is that.
It's a bit shy.
Yeah. Over here, this is our cherry tree. Cherry tree, and again we have decided to put some herbs. This is oregano and also thyme. Have some thyme in here.
Oregano and thyme, and that
oregano as well.
Okay. Oh, just the flowers.
Different type of oregano. Yeah.
I didn't know that there were different types of oregano.
Yeah. And of course, a garden without rosemary is not a garden.
Okay guys, so when we're in the garden, we learn about food all the way from the production to consumption to management and processing, and then all the way back to food being reconnected back to the soil. So we're going to learn about vermi-composting from Pablo.
So yes, following your train of thought, in gardening, sometimes when we start with the garden volunteers, we focus on the garden cycle. It's not just gardening. The garden has a cycle, and the cycle starts with soil preparation. We prepare the land, then we have planting and seeding, and then you have the gardening care, all what's involving watering, weeding, building trellises, putting cage around the tomato plants, dealing with pests and diseases, and then becomes the funny part, harvesting. Who doesn't like harvesting? Everybody likes harvesting, because harvesting is an instant reward. When you eat an apple, when you eat a radish from the garden, it's an instant reward. Yeah, lots of sugars in there. And then what do you do with things that you cannot eat? You compost. All right, you can do. There are 3 different types of compost. Hot compost, when they have large amounts. You remember, decomposition creates heat transfers and decomposes, matter decomposes. Also we have cold composting. This is the one that we have in here, and it takes quite a long time to decompose, because more decomposition than composition. And the third one is when you use red wigglers, earworms, and I would like to show you that.
Ooh, red wigglers. And I think guys, you know, when you think about composting, we're not talking about like just a compost bin. That's not a composting process, just putting your food scraps in the green bin. You know, this is what we're talking about when we're composting.
Yeah. Composting is a managed decomposition process. All right, it's not just as Tamara said, just put your food scraps or garden waste in a bin. No. So here we are managing our compost. So here we have the brown material, leaves, and now we have our green material, all the things that comes from the garden. In this case are some spinach that we are feeding to earworms, and our earworms are in here. Let's see, because it's very sunny.
Oh, I see some. Ooh,
That one?
red wiggler.
I don't think they're red. I think they're tannish.
Yeah.
You think they're tannish maroon? Oh, okay. But they're actually called red wiggler worm.
Yeah.
And you can actually buy them if you want to start your own composting system. You can actually buy them on the internet, right?
Yes. Well, here in Vancouver, there is a person called Red Wigglers Burnaby,
Ooh.
close to Metro Town, where you can buy a pound of red wigglers.
And so, yeah. So what do they do, Pablo?
What they do? Well, you add all your greens in here, your garden waste. You have to chop it. As you can see, we're going to prepare a salad, you need to chop it. At the moment you chop it, you create all this area for bacteria and fungus to start growing in there, and that decomposes, started rotting in this green material, and the worms will start eating it and transforming into this nice and crumbly kind of soil.
Nice. Wow. wow, so literally from from cradle to cradle. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
And how nutritious is that for the soil?
Well, the soil that comes from the earworms is very nutritious, rich in nutrients. Somehow the earworms, when they eat the dirt and the garden waste, elevates the level of nutrients in the soil.
Amazing.
So yeah, so these worm casts are rich in nutrients, which will add to our garden beds.
Okay, so that's going to be added back to the garden, and then the whole cycle continues over and over again. So I guess this is basically the antidote, or the complete opposite of what is called like that linear food system or food supply chain, where it just goes to waste or the landfill.
Yeah.
You know, so this is the complete opposite of that.
Yeah. Gardening itself and agriculture and all natural cycles are circles, and we tend to make it linear. Even when because we need to study and need to analyze, we make it into linear. But yeah, everything is a cycle. So we have the cycle of the plant, we have the cycle of the soil, cycle of the rock, cycle of the water, cycle of the CO2, nitrogen cycle. Everything is a cycle. So when you come here at the Learning Garden to do gardening with me, we will be talking lots about cycles.
That's amazing. So yes, if you like circles, this is definitely the good place to go to make friends, to learn how to grow food. So that's really amazing. Now, just to kind of like close off our session of Meet the Expert today, I'm wondering if, one, you can give any tips to students who are interested in learning more about food, maybe some advice for them on what program they can join, or maybe you have any initiatives coming up in the fall. Another thing also is, you know, this space didn't always exist before, so maybe like, do you have any hope for this space? Do you hope that SFU might expand our food and agriculture programming? What are your thoughts?
Well, I would like to have this space to expand, indeed, to have more people coming to do gardening and learning about food production. Not only food production, but also nutrition, because they go into there are two things that make the food literacy. All right, so gardening and nutrition. This garden in this campus is temporary, so we don't have a fixed space. So this garden has been moving through campus. Yeah, so if you are interested in learning about gardening and food production, even if you don't have green thumbs, okay, you may have brown thumbs. That doesn't matter.
Like us.
I also work with elementary schools, and bringing gardening to elementary schools is very important because we need farmers. And if you remember this old nursery rhyme, the old MacDonald has a farm. Actually, the old MacDonald is getting old and needs people to take it over. And what best you, if you're interested, that is a huge chance to start developing a profession.
That's a perfect advice. So old MacDonald is getting old, and we need the Gen Z farmers to start coming in, bring in some new ideas, some innovation, help out Pablo at the Embark Learning Garden, and definitely keep on working on the REM 357 Planning for Sustainable Food Systems course. I think we're going to rock and roll and really contribute to the food movement. Awesome.